So when I started doing research for the project, I started with the basics. We just wanted to get through the shoot, and so in order for that to happen, I had to start looking for characters. And some of these characters that you see that I would give photo reference over to the casting director were of vagrants, and he managed to find somebody that was pretty much perfect for the role. I also had to give reference over to the location scouts, and some of these pictures here are from Detroit, and we had no problem whatsoever in Poland finding locations that were exactly like this. But this managed to get us through all the shooting of it, and then once I got home, I had to start doing post-production. So first I started looking at the tone. So here you have some Hogarth paintings and some Francis Bacon that give you that sort of spooky vibe. And eventually I drifted into Polish poster art, which has always really creeped me out since I was a kid. So I started looking more into depth on that, and all this stuff I was passing over to the concept artist Nadia, who I've worked with a few times in the past. So she started doing a couple of sketches based on that, and though she was coming up with really interesting solutions, I wanted something that was a lot more spindly. And so she started coming up with these ideas that it was made out of wire. We ended up doing a lot of different iterations of what we wanted the face to look like. I kind of wanted it to be a bit more anonymous, so we finally got to something that we liked, and I started passing over this reference over to Armando Sepulveda. So Armando is a world-class modeler and sculptor. He was one of the big guys at DreamWorks for a while, and then came over to Framestore, where I met him during a project called Color Bleed. And Armando had a little bit extra time, and I gave him some early warning about this project. So here you could see him doing some speed sculpting, and this is actually him in real time, which is amazing. I'm kidding. He took probably about a week to do this. He's very fast, and I can't tell you how much something like this means to a project, because there's a lot of volunteers involved when you're doing independent filmmaking, and when somebody like Armando comes on board and delivers the goods, it makes everybody involved really step up their game. So it was almost a shame that I had to cover a lot of his work with textures and wire work, but in the end we arrived at something like this handsome fella right here. So we were calling him Chad. Then once we had him in the can, we started to do the same thing for the dog. So we started off with something basic. I gave a little bit of a map to Nadia, and she came up with this mangy dog. But I said it has to, feel a lot more like the Wraith, made of wires and bone and rag and stuff like that. So she got to something fairly close, but I knew I was going to have to carry the remainder of the look dev over in actual 3D. So I started messing around with more wire work and rags, and realized quite quickly that I needed a better model for the dog. So I went back to Armando, and he mocked up this hellhound. And once we rolled all that stuff together, including what we had left over from the Wraith, we arrived at our hellhound.